This is episode 21, Sonnet 39 of Mike and Scott Read a Poem. Hey, Mike, we have a special guest this week. Did you know that?
What?
You know that because we just recorded the episode, so you're lying.
I'm not prepared for this.
The special guest that we just recorded our episode was Dave Peterson, language creator from Game of Thrones.
Oh.
Dave, I'm sure that just so many people are going to tune in to hear you talk about Game of Thrones. So, since we never talk about it on the show, say one thing about Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, we don't have any more time for the intro. I'm sorry, man. Okay, so this is episode 21, Sonnet 39 of Mike and Scott Read a Poem. But on my new computer is my podcast, where I read Shakespearean sonnets and analyze them, and then look up the correct definitions online and come back and admit if I was wrong. That's the podcast, right, Mike?
That's the podcast in a nutshell. Now Dave's all caught up.
Yes. Okay. This person that we've yanked in off the street. This is Dave Peterson. You're on Mike and Scott Read a Poem.
Yes. This must be kind of awkward for you, Scott. I thought I was actually going to be playing the role of Scott for the rest of the podcast. I thought I was replacing you.
Well, who said that you aren't?
Okay. So maybe you're just going to kind of transition me in, ease me in so that the listeners get used to hearing me instead of you. And then, of course, Mike is the number one, of course.
They've been hearing it the whole time because you are actually doing an imitation of me. I actually did not show up for the show this week. I was busy.
Ooh.
So Dave Peterson... what's your correct title?
It depends on the show, but let's just say language creator.
All right, that's the I'm glad that you embrace the easiest definition.
Yeah, why not?
Language creator.
Yeah, it's like if I'm sure there's a more specific term, but if somebody just says, "Oh, he's some sort of language creator," that's actually the term you embrace. You're like, "No, that's exactly what I am. I'm a language creator."
Yeah, there's no reason to be more complicated than you need to be. I say that works.
Okay, great. Language creator and the shows that you've worked on.
So first, I guess in order, HBO's Game of Thrones, Sci-Fi's Defiance, CW's Star-Crossed, may it rest in peace. Sci-Fi's Dominion, premiering June 19th, and then I worked on Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, wow. Hey, I haven't seen it yet, but it seems like creation of a language is more of a series type of a thing.
Yeah.
Not just like a one-time deal.
Yeah, you think so.
But I guess they invested heavily into it, huh?
And I have to tell you, when they approached me about it, I really tried to argue them out of it. I say, this is just a one-off. It's just a movie. I mean, come on. And they're saying, we'll give you money. And I'm like, no.
Dave should write a book on bargaining. Just tell them that they don't need you. Convince them really hard that they don't need you, and then they are going to find a way that they need you. How to Persuade Somebody by Dave Peterson.
Unemployment skyrockets the next week.
So this week, but also I'd like to point out that you have a bachelor's in English, correct?
Yes, I do.
Perhaps you are the person that has analyzed the most poetry that's ever been on the show.
I actually did. It was a part of my English major. I took a course on Shakespeare.
Wow, a whole entire course devoted to Shakespeare.
Yeah, I thought it was ridiculous too.
Well, this is just for full disclosure here. So how many of the sonnets have you read?
Probably 2.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
great.
Perfect.
Great.
Because that's what we're all about, is just leaping into this stuff without knowing what we're doing.
It kind of confirms my theory that when people say that they really know Shakespeare, they're talking about his plays, and then you ask, "Oh, what do you think of his sonnets?" And then you think of the 5 or 6. Is it, Dave? Do you think it's really more like 5 or 6?
That I've read, yeah, probably,
yeah. But not 15.
No, but the one that comes to mind is always, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And after that, things start to go downhill really fast. It'd be really embarrassing if I were being interviewed based on my knowledge of Shakespeare's sonnets. And so you talked about Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day. We were wondering if you could move on to some of his more obscure works. Yeah. Yeah. That one with the 14 lines.
And the nice little couplet at the end.
Yeah, the couplet, it's gangbusters. Gangbusters. You have to read it. I can't tell you about it. You have to read it.
That's the best way to just snake around that.
Yeah,
problem.
he knows his Shakespeare so well. He knows it so well that he knows when he shouldn't even bother to explain it to me. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, I can't. Listen, I could, but I shouldn't. You just have to go read it. That's how well I know Shakespeare. I know when to say that.
So I haven't listened to your entire catalog, but I have been going through and listening to.
This is over. It's over.
To Mike and Scott read a poem, and I just had a few comments. First of all, you mentioned once, I wonder if people listening, it just tears them up when we're getting something wrong, and it's like they just keep listening and they keep it's like that was me with both Jim Croce, who is one of my heroes.
All right, hero.
And Charizard, because it's you're going right through. First of all, you're calling him Charizard, which is the third incarnation. The original is Charmander. And you're like, sometimes they evolve, and I wonder if any of them evolve into 3. And you're leading with Charizard.
I was pretty sure that they had 3, but it just I just couldn't remember them all.
Yeah, I know. Well, anyway, listen, I'll give you some leeway there, and I will, though, give you some information. I think that you'll be displeased to hear this, but right. You remember the Ghostbusters symbol, as you called it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, this is from way back. These are your deep cuts here.
All right.
So you were wondering about, why couldn't it be on a keyboard?
Oh, boy.
It is an actual symbol in Unicode.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
All right. So yeah, it's a symbol in Unicode. So in order to get it on your keyboard, all you need to do is just create a keyboard layout that has it right on there, or you can just manually enter it. But it has a name.
Uh-huh.
And that was the question. Is there a name for that, right?
Yeah. And
did we try to look that up?
I don't think
we
you
probably
did. No.
It must not have struck our curiosity at the
well,
time.
You were really happy with the Ghostbusters symbol, and I was happy with that too. The actual name is far less interesting. It is combining, enclosing, circle, backslash.
That's extremely interesting.
Gotta shorten that up. Gotta tighten that up.
Combining and
enclosing, circle, backslash.
I just feel that needs a rewrite.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites, I'll tell you that. And you can find it at Unicode code point 20E0.
Well,
right.
I guess what I'm arguing for is, sure, it's legally there. I want it to have picture status. I would like to submit a bill to the Congress of Keyboards that recognizes something, not the Ghostbusters sign, because that is ridiculous, but something legitimate, some sort of name for that is as snappy as question mark and exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
How about just nope?
Nope. Okay. Spelled with a K.
Even better.
K-N-O-P-E.
Even better if it were some sort of an acronym, some sort of a clever acronym. And if it starts with an N, you can start right off with negative and figure out the other 3 from there.
Okay. That's the correct solution, but gotta say, it still puts it apart from the other things. Backspace, you're going back a space. Enter, that's a word. Shift, word.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a word.
Yeah.
Acronym would be cool, but I'm saying full and equal status.
Maybe, well, what I always picture is, the beginning of Ghostbusters, the cartoon, that is the real Ghostbusters. First, it has this ghost flying around, and then the thing, there's a word for how this comes, it's like zooms in or drops in the Ghostbuster symbol goes, and traps him, and then it turns into the logo. So I was thinking maybe its name could be which, if I'm spelling that right, is going to be PKHW apostrophe. I think that's it.
Well, you're the language creator, so I guess I'm going to have to trust you that that's okay.
You'd have to start correcting everybody that they're pronouncing it wrong. Or are you pronouncing it with a Louisianan accent? A
No.
Creole
Yeah.
accent?
It's not.
Yeah.
It's.
That's how they would say it? Well, yeah, how would they say it, though?
I don't know.
Okay.
No. Yeah, actually, since if it was in New Orleans, it'd probably have some sort of an upward lilt on the end, so it'd probably sound like that. Because that's where that accent comes from, where people say things like toin, like, towing down at the end of the road, where the R becomes a y.
Ah.
Comes from around that area. The fellow in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, whom initially we disliked, but then no. It was the bad politician, the one that gets run out of town on a rail. He does that.
Mike, do you know Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I know George Clooney's in it, right?
Yeah. And if that dude in the movie were pronouncing George Clooney, you'd call him George.
George Clooney.
Yeah.
Is it Creole? Or is it
I don't think so.
Louisianan?
It is.
Or Southern?
I'm pretty
I don't know.
sure it comes from Louisiana. Maybe this can be a factoid we can look up, but I don't know exactly what it's called. So I don't know how to look it up. But I'm pretty sure it's from New Orleans, and I'm pretty sure it's actually not Cajun. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not Cajun.
All right.
The word toin, once I was telling my mom, I was like practicing an oral report that I was going to do on the Wright brothers. And to decide who went up in the plane the first time, they had a coin toss. But I was saying a toin toss, and my mom said they did what? And I said they had and I thought she was surprised that they had a coin toss, like such a trivial.
You're like, yeah, can you believe it?
Yes, that's what I was doing. I was like, can you believe it? They had a toin toss, and she said a what? And I was like, toins? Oh, I mean coin toss. And it wasn't until I only said the word toin that I realized I was making up a word. Now I come to find out I was just speaking a different dialect.
Yeah. And of course, in New Orleans, a toin toss is, you don't want to say that in polite company.
All right. Well, I said it in front of my mom. I'm sure she forgave me. So Sonnet, guess what happened? We're on Sonnet 39 this week, Dave. We're going to be reading Sonnet 39 by Shakespeare. But when I was looking up Sonnet 39 in Google, also popped up Sir Philip Sidney, Sonnet 39. So there's another famous Sonnet 39.
Oh,
Last week there was another famous Sonnet 38 by Elizabeth Browning. Dave,
really good one.
Do you know Sir Philip Sidney?
No, I do know Elizabeth Browning, but
Right. It was a good Sonnet 38. We enjoyed that last week. So maybe we'll look up what this sonnet is as one of the trivia questions.
okay, cool. Can
right.
we call him Phil?
Once we look him up, I'm sure then I'll feel more comfortable to say Phil.
And as long as you keep Sir in there, though.
That's right, Sir Phil Sidney.
Mike is very protective of sirs. Like, you really wanted John Venn a few weeks ago to be a sir. He wasn't, but the guy that invented the Venn diagram.
Oh yeah. So then you're still in favor of the system, the knighting system, as it were.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Patrick Stewart is knighted, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. If I could just have him knight me someday, that would be a dream come true.
All right. So
I'd be
Mike's
sir.
living in a fantasy world of knighting.
Well, he is an avid listener, but the thing is, of course, he doesn't have that official power. So, he's always, I don't know, the emails always get rerouted to me for some reason. I always get his fan mail. He has lots of notes on your show. And he's expressed his regrets before that he does not have the power to knight people officially.
Oh,
It's the one thing that knights can't do. They can do everything else.
They cannot make it so.
No.
All right. So Sonnet 39 by William Shakespeare this week. Dave,
Yeah.
as our guest, would you like to read Sonnet 39?
Ooh. Well, sure. Here, let me
it's an honor.
pull it up. Yeah, what I want to show you is that I'm not reading off a website. I am reading
okay.
from this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
From a
you
book.
have a Shakespeare book.
This piece of garbage. Just look at this tawdry thing. Gold and starting one word with the
Oh, it's
last
got,
letter of
like-
another.
Yeah, reflective print.
Yeah,
Looks like a romance novel.
it does. But anyway,
Nothing wrong with romance novels. I don't want angry emails.
All the angry emails we usually get. After
Very
every single
sensitive
show.
listeners. Like, I appreciate you guys listening, but the emails that I receive from you. Do you think that I'm that passionate about romance novels?
For shame.
If you like it, that's fine. I was just making a joke about what the cover looked like. Jeez. All right. So Dave's reading from a book that he doesn't like, but it's a book nonetheless.
Yeah, it's
And you
got
know what?
everything.
Don't even say what the publisher is and stuff. Like, they'll never know, since this is in the public domain. They'll never know that we're using their text.
Yeah.
How could they find out?
Yeah, and that's a really weird publisher's name. I'm going to leave that one out. That's
Yeah.
just
If you
Not
can't
what-
pronounce it, I don't
not
know
what
on
I
the
would
show.
have called my publisher.
All right, so Dave, from this mystery, so this will be fun. So maybe we'll all three have different translations. Like, we'll have different words here and there. So we're about to find out as Dave Peterson reads for us Sonnet 39 on Mike and Scott Read a Poem.
Oh, how thy worth with manners may I sing, when thou art all the better part of me. What can mine own praise to mine own self bring? And what is't but mine own when I praise thee? Even for this let us divided live, and our dear love lose name of single one, that by this separation I may give that due to thee which thou deservest alone. O absence, what a torment wouldst thou prove, were it not thy sour leisure gave sweet leave to entertain the time with thoughts of love, which time and thoughts so sweetly doth deceive, and that thou teachest how to make one twain, by praising him here who doth hence remain.
Nice,
All
good
right,
work.
very nice reading.
Yeah, you didn't trip on any of those.
And I was reading the same poem, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know that
okay.
there was a single word that was different. Mike,
Thank-
any different
No, it
words?
was all the same. Yeah.
Thank goodness, because with this edition, I just half expect them to just throw in rap lyrics every so often. So
All right, so we usually try for the person who read it to see if there's anything that you could kind of glean from what
Right
you
off
just
the
read
bat. Quick
without actually looking back and reviewing.
oh yeah, because that was actually something I was wondering about, because I have a very hard time following what I read.
It's hard to do, especially
easy.
with sonnets.
Yeah, and I'm sure
That's why it's kind of like a challenge.
right. I'm sure that you guys have gotten some practice with this. This is my first run, so.
No, it happens to me to this day, where you read the whole thing
Well,
and you
I'll
have
tell
no
you
idea
this.
what you read.
Okay.
I'll tell you this: the sonnet ended with a question. I am almost certain of that. Had the word "remain" in there, and "ist," where he tried to put together "is" and "it." I hate that, but all right. I mean, I'll accept that.
He's resourceful. He's like Oliver. I like it.
Yeah. All right. So he's asking a question. He is. I detected a sense of melancholy somewhere in there.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
he was a bit melancholic, and then he's talking to somebody, perhaps trying to convince them to sell him a boat. And
Toy boat.
And I tell you, I want nothing more than to just go back and look at the dang poem.
Well, great, because that's so good job, Mike, of torturing the guest right off the bat. 'Cause at first it's like,
that.
hey, tell us what you think, and don't look.
Do it.
Don't look. I think Mike and I have a little advantage to this one because we have read the past few sonnets, and
Okay.
there's a little bit of a storyline going on here. And even if you were completely up to date on Mike and Scott Read a Poem, there were a few episodes behind in releasing them, so there's no way you could have heard the past couple.
Right.
So Shakespeare and this fair youth had to break up, and I think he's just talking about that again, and how I think he's hoping that you go on and live a happy life, which was part of another sonnet a few sonnets ago too.
Okay. By the way, am I allowed to go back and look now?
Yeah.
Or is-
Well, yeah.
is it-
Now we're gonna go
Now
from the top.
we're gonna review
Oh, we're
it.
gonna
yeah.
go. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, how thy worth with manners may I sing, when thou art all the better part of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you get from that?
Well, it sounds like, how can I, without being uncouth, talk about how great you are when you're that great? Like, in other words, it's like, how could he presume to talk about how great the addressee is. Are we speaking
Yes.
with fair youth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair use.
Okay.
I
All
kind
right,
of
go
feel
with
like he's saying, you're the best part about me. So praising you would be praising myself, in a way. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No. That's better. That's better because, of course, it's unmannerly to boast. So if your addressee is actually just a part of yourself, then how could you, with manners, talk about how you're a better part? So nice. I like that.
And this could go back to the fair youth being Shakespeare's muse. So I can't talk about how good my poems are because they're just inspired by you. So you are what's so great about my poems. What can mine own praise to mine own self bring?
I think that's confirmation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what is't, that's that word that you love, but mine own when I praise thee. And so when I say how great you are, again, that just fills me up more because now my poems are going to be greater.
Yeah, this is a really good setup for a sonnet. I hope he doesn't ruin it in the second half here.
by saying, okay, but we're going to break up. And here it comes. Even for this, let us divided live. So even though we have this connection, got to split it in two.
So he kind of sets it up in the first 4 lines by saying, we're so connected that we're one. Talking about you is talking about me. We can't really separate our lives. Even though we're so connected.
Yeah,
let
we're
us
connected,
divided
but
live.
you are above me. You are the muse.
Yeah, it's like if there was a guy that just lifted weights with one arm for 5 years. That's the part of Shakespeare's own self that he was praising here, and writing with the other squiggly little arm.
I just got a mental image of Shakespeare like kissing his biceps
Just one bicep.
and talking. Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
talking
just
to
the
it.
one.
And this was from an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Did you know that, Dave?
What?
That's from Lady in the Water? Did you see that? I had a feeling you didn't see that. That's great.
No.
There's a guy that only lifts weights with one arm, and he has one huge arm in that movie.
And that was the inspiration for that entire film?
I'm sure I wrote this whole story because I had this idea of a guy lifting weights, but I was like, that can't be the main thing. So then I invented this lady in the water, and that was kind of the side story that led me to the guy that lifts weights.
But what is it called? And then I thought, Lady in the Water.
Because at that point, I mean, she had really taken over the story.
Yeah, no, you can't bring too much attention to the one-armed man.
Yeah, but it'll stick in your mind way after. You really won't even remember what the lady in the water was doing, but you'll remember that there was one guy lifting weights with one arm.
All
right.
So I don't have to watch the movie now, right?
No, but as a trivia question, we'll see if you could just look at images and you could confirm whether or not that's what you imagined when there was a guy lifting weights with one arm for 5 years.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm picturing something like a green, moldy background. I just wanted to get that out first.
Okay. I was not expecting you to break down the background as much as you just did. But you did. Okay. So, all right. So everything seems, good with the muse thing in the first quatrain, but then even for this, let us divided live, and our dear love lose name of single one. We don't have the title anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever title we had.
And not only that, he's building up this idea about the divisions, the fact that he and his love are split in half, or they're two halves of a whole. And here's what he's saying is, and our dear love lose name of single one. That is, we no longer can claim to be two halves of an individual. We're going to be two separate things.
Uncommon denominators.
That sounds like a good name for a band.
Uncommon denominators.
That by this separation I may give that due to thee, which thou deservest alone.
Ooh, twist.
Oh, okay.
So M. Night
This is the
Shyamalan
M.
did
Night
write
Shyamalan
this.
part.
So it's cool. So now since he's saying we should split up so that all the praise that I give to you can be wholly deserved by you, and none of it will be, reflected upon me.
I'll step aside.
Yeah, and then this bragging, this praising won't be prideful.
I get a sense that maybe Shakespeare was getting some credit that wasn't due to him. He's praised for being a great writer, but nobody knows the secret is that he's got this muse who really is the one who inspires him, and the muse is the one where all of this great writing kind of comes from.
I think he knows that he's great, though. I think this is a little bit of a joke the whole time. Or just a way to pretend, it's a way to feign modesty.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Or maybe he just has a wife that literally writes every single word, but she's illiterate. And so he just takes it all down and takes all the credit.
He was the world's most famous dictator. But he only dictated. Dictated prose.
She was a fantastic dictator. Oh, like she ruled a bunch of people? Oh, no. She dictated her stories to her husband who wrote them down. Great dictator. Okay.
And what was her name? Joan of Arc.
Actually, we did look up Shakespeare's wife's name. Do you know who Shakespeare was married to, Dave?
Anne Bonny? Or is that a pirate?
I don't know who Anne Bonny is, so we'll have to look that up. You're close.
That sounds familiar.
It's Anne something, right?
Right. It's
Hathaway?
somebody really That's it, Mike.
Anne Heche.
No. You said it just one. Or did you say it, Dave? Yeah.
Anne Hathaway?
It's Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway. But we'll look up who Anne Bonny is. Lady in the Water. I forget what else.
And who's the famous Hathaway now? What's her name? The lovely young woman?
Anne Hathaway. It's the same.
Oh, okay.
They have the exact same name.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's nice. That's really nice for her. That's really nice for her. She's had herself a nice little career, and I wish her the very best. I don't wish her ill. And
she's an Academy Award-winning actress.
Yeah, I just want to go on record as saying I don't wish her any specific harm.
Okay, well, put that on Twitter tonight. I do not specifically wish any harm to Anne Hathaway, and see how well that goes. I wish all the best to Anne Hathaway.
Oh,
I think I'm going to tweet that tonight, and I think that'll go better. It'll still be weird. People will call me and like, hey, where did that come from? It was just out of nowhere. Why are you wishing the best to Anne Hathaway?
Man, and Anne Hathaway is going to call you up herself. It's like, Scott, why did you say that? Am I dying? Yeah.
Is there something I don't know? No, everything's fine with Anne Hathaway. Not the original one because she's dead. So that's not. But she was married to Shakespeare. So I hope that went well. Okay, where are we? Oh, absence. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So, absence, what a torment wouldst thou prove, were it not thy sour leisure gave sweet leave to entertain the time with thoughts of love, which time and thoughts so sweetly doth deceive.
And then it keeps going. This is a long sentence.
How to make one twain. Yeah, that's a long sentence.
That is a long sentence.
So we're talking about absence here, right?
So absence is tormenting.
What a torment wouldst thou prove?
Yeah. So once we are broken up, because I guess this is still part of the breakup.
Correct.
All right. Oh, once we're apart, what a torment it's going to be.
It would be. It would
yes.
be.
If not
the case.
If it were not for the happiness that I get that from your happy life, all right, is where I think it's going to go.
Okay, well, this is what I got here. So, absence, what a torment wouldst thou prove? Being apart, how horrible that would be. Were it not thy sour leisure gave sweet leave to entertain the time with thoughts of love. If all of this idle time, it would be so horrible to be apart from you, except for the fact that all of this idle time gives me nothing but time to think thoughts of love.
Very nice.
And then, let's see, which time and thoughts so sweetly doth deceive.
So the thoughts fool me, and so I forget how terrible my situation is.
Yeah, and that teaches
how to make one.
Yeah, because all this time, all I'm doing is remembering all the good things.
Yes, and that teaches me how to live apart from you by talking you up and remembering how awesome you were. The person that remains has to do that.
And that teaches how to make one twain. And then you teach me how best to be a part by praising him, that's the author, by here, who doth hence remain, the one that's left behind.
Okay, so you know how he starts off saying, if I praise myself, it's basically like I'm praising you. Because we were one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brings it back at the end here. It says, I'm learning how to become myself again by praising me without you. Or is it you without me?
It's worded like he's saying, praise me, but I just can't believe that that's what he's actually saying.
Well, this is one of those really tricky things where it's like, you got to be certain about who's doing what here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, because to me it sounds like as if he's talking to the fair youth, and saying that, and you're teaching me how to be a separate individual by praising me. So not him.
Okay, so you praise me.
Yeah, but
I
I don't know if that interpretation is accurate. That's just what I think I'm reading.
Maybe you're praising me by making my poems great.
By praising him here who doth hence remain. Him here.
So I'm gonna stay here.
I'm here.
But your thoughts, I'm gonna stay here, but your thoughts praise me, and maybe in this context, praise means to just fill one with some sort of spirit. I don't know.
When he's saying thou, I think it refers to absence.
Oh, absence, what a torment wouldst thou prove.
Oh, and you, absence, teaches me
Yeah.
how to be a part.
Yeah, by
Nice.
and then absence praises him.
Okay, so so thy sour leisure. So absence has fun when you're alone. Your lover's not around.
Yeah, so the leisure that I get during it's not leisure that I want because I'd rather be with you, but it's leisure that I'm getting because it's forced on me by absence. But it's at least gives me time to think about you, and by doing that, spending that time, I fool myself into thinking that I'm okay, and then but this absence is teaching me how to be one whole again and live apart from you, and then boom, we're still stuck at the ending.
Yeah.
By praising him. Who's him?
It's got to be Shakespeare. It's got to be or it's got to be the author.
So absence praises the author.
Who doth
Is absence
remain.
the one doing the praising?
That's what I was thinking.
If you're
And
the
now
one doing the teaching, then you're the one doing the praising.
Right. That's what I was thinking, but I just don't know why. But it seems like it has to really clearly be the author who's being praised. There's so many indicators in that last line saying, you could have just said by praising him, but it's like by him here, and then who doth hence, here again, remain. It's like very clear that he's talking about, the author's talking about himself here. But now it's just a question as to why, and I'm a little lost there.
Yeah.
And how something can be praising him as well.
Yeah, how's it doing that? How is it praising him? In what way?
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe there's a different definition for praising. We think of praising as being, hey, have you seen this guy? Let me tell you some good things about him. But maybe here praising is, it maybe makes his poetry better, so now he's going to get adulation from the masses, and they call that praising. Have you seen what passes for praising these days? So, do you want to look up the word praising and see if there's any alternative definitions?
Yeah, I'll check it out. So here we go.
All right.
Praising. Okay, praise. To say or write good things about someone or something. To express approval. To express thanks or love and respect for. A transitive verb to express a favorable judgment of. To glorify, especially by the attribution of perfections. Intransitive verb is to express praise. Critics praise. I don't know. Sounds. Origin of praise. Middle English prison from Anglo-French praiser. Praiser to appraise, esteem, more at prize.
All right, so we're not really getting anything out of that, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe one of the websites will still tell us what praising him means. So, shall we just throw in the towel a little bit?
I think so. I think that we've figured out everything that we can, and there just seems to be this one question left, this one central question about what the praising means and how absence is praising him, and I think we're coming up empty.
So we're going to find out what this twist ending is after we look all this up here on Mike and Scott Read a Poem.
With Dave Peterson.
Special guest Dave Peterson.
It seems like what Shakespeare was doing was writing this darn thing and finished with by praising him who doth hence remain. And he's like, damn, it's a syllable short. What the hell am I going to do? And so he just threw in here. Because notice that here is on the, it's on the downbeat. So by praising him here who doth hence remain. It's like, and that's ordinarily not what you do with an adverb like that. Ordinarily they get stress.
Yeah, the way we were reading it is by praising him here who doth. We weren't putting a stress on it because it's not natural.
Yeah.
We were doing two downbeats in a row, which is not allowed in iambic pentameter.
This is a shifty maneuver.
By praising him here who doth hence remain. Yep, so he just had to make it mathematically work. And who knows if he enjoyed the ambiguity of how hard it was going to be to read, or if it was hard to read. Do you think people thought different? I know I don't know. Do you think people would maybe be able to read it better at a certain time, like language maybe did that a little bit more often back then?
There's an outside possibility, but I think what's more likely is that it was intended to be read aloud, and so you would just listen to the way it was spoken, and you would be able to understand that the here is just modifying the whole sentence as opposed to the addressee. That would be my guess. I don't think it would be more likely that you have these dangling modifiers at a time, in the past. And then, of course, everybody just takes poetry with a grain of salt because you can do things in poetry that you might not necessarily do in everyday speech, mainly to fit meter.
So that's what we've found. We've been back for a while here. We didn't have the official entrance, but we can't.
That's true. Sorry.
No. It was because I think it's too good to lose.
Yeah,
what
we're doing this organically.
So the reason we weren't able to nail that last line was because of a funky grammar thing. Dave, would you like to give it a name?
I'm gonna call it the Funky Grandpa, because I cannot for the life of me remember what exactly it's called, but it does have a special name, and it's when basically a modifier is separated from the thing that it's modified by one or more words or phrases.
All right, and so if you're keeping score at home, just mark down what Dave's suggestions were for the Ghostbusters key and for this dangling thing, see what his suggestions were. Okay.
Okay, so now that we kind of understand what Shakespeare's saying in this last line, how does that apply to the interpretation of the second half of the sonnet for you guys?
I think for me it kind of takes it home, because then what he's saying is that, because remember what he's complaining about in the beginning of the poem is, how can I praise you, my better half, when we are one and the same person? By praising you, it's vanity, it's pride. And so then he's, bemoaning how it's really tough to be apart from you. But what it's teaching me is how to be separate, because now I can freely praise you as much as I want without worrying about vanity or being boastful. And so it's like basically absence is teaching him how to be apart from his other half by praising him, and it's doing that by him praising the youth who is remaining hence.
Because he's not so close. It's not like joined at the hip anymore.
Yeah.
Because the fair youth is far away, it's easier, I guess, to praise him apart from myself.
He can do so with manners to quote Shakespeare. You praise him with manners.
It would be it would be a nice thing to say to somebody, to say, we broke up and that was really hard, but in a way I've enjoyed being apart from you because I've discovered that I still love you so much, and just that I could root for you even though we're not apart. It's just a great feeling to be able to love you so much.
Yeah, but of course, the truth is he wrote all of this when his love went out to get water from the well. Had it gone through several drafts by the time it came back.
Well, I have no idea how hard or easy it is to get water from a well, as I've expressed.
Many people probably die on their way, lifting up the water from the well. They tumble over.
Sure. Well, people have died doing everything, so I'm sure there have been well-related
it was
fatalities.
It was a pretty good experience for Helen Keller, though.
Well, that was a different kind of well, though. I think that was a pump. Anyway.
That's true.
I would like to use one of those. I don't know that I've ever used one of those.
That must have been that must have been like a modern convenience, just a miracle when that thing was invented.
Wow, we don't have to use a well anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need a bucket?
What happened to the town weller, though? That poor guy lost his job. What's this now? Plumbing? What does it do? Wait, it does what? What am I going to do?
What are we going to do with Mario?
Well, I don't know how to do anything else. This is the only thing. I was so good at it. Well, I was a saver. So, you turned out all right. Save everybody.
Oh, yeah. So I guess Mario, in essence, put the town weller out of business.
Oh, is Mario the one that
killer.
was making the pipes?
Mario's a plumber, yeah.
Okay. Oh, because he's Mario from Super Mario Brothers. We don't have to look that up. I know when Mike said that. Okay. But other than that, how does everybody feel about our interpretation? To go back to the well grading scale, how much of the water is still in the bucket?
Okay, so if our bucket was full before we read our interpretations...
Yes, assuming the bucket started full. I wasn't going to trick you. Like, how could you say 3/4 when we started at 1/2? No, I wasn't going to do that.
I knew you were going to get all mathy on me.
Or I'm just withholding information. That's all I was doing. Waiting for your answer to burn you. Okay. So no, it starts with a full pail of water. And we start lifting it up. And I notice, wait a minute, it's starting to tip over a little bit. Look out. Keep it steady. I'm the spotter. Welling is usually done with 3 people. All right. So we've lifted the pail of water all the way up, and now we can look in it. How much, what percent of our bucket is full? Mike, what do you think?
I think 75% is still full.
Dave, what do you think?
I'm going to go with a different analogy because I'm going to agree with the percentage. I'm going to agree with the percentage, but instead of water, which is pretty much all of a kind, I'm going to say that it's milk or some sort of a dairy-based product. And what happened is we lifted it up, and the cream kind of got, sloughed off of the top. And so while we got 75% of it, we missed some of the best parts of it by misinterpreting that last phrase.
Okay, so and then my analogy is we have 75% of a pizza. And so sure, whatever, there's a little corner missing, but look how much delicious pizza we have to eat. This is awesome. I can't, this is great.
But the 25% of the pizza that we lost is the only part that had pepperoni on it. Everything else has anchovies.
Or cheese.
Oh, come on. Oh, geez.
No cheese and anchovies.
Guys, you have ruined the pizza that I brought to the party. What did you guys do? This is unprecedented on Mike and Scott Read a Poem. I brought a pizza, and they destroyed my pizza in an instant.
Yeah, but who brings a pizza with 25% pepperoni?
It kind of goes like this, you call up, Papa John's. Listen, I want a pizza, just one large pizza. I want you to put cheese on exactly 25% of it, and pepperoni on top of it. The rest of it, I want to have no cheese and anchovies. Tell me that you understand what I have just said.
Yeah. I understand, sir. You call every Wednesday night, and we always get it right. Please, calm down. All right. So, any way you slice it, which mine is the only one that you could actually slice, unless there's still some cream on Dave's milk. But there is absolutely no way you could slice water. I've tried. So we're all saying, actually, no, I'm going to bump it up. I'm going to say we still got 80% of it. It's just, tripped up on the end. But like I said, still a whole lot of pizza. So by praising him, I think we already said what the ending means, but just one more time. By praising him, the fair youth, and then the here refers to me, but it's just kind of thrown in to keep the meter going. And then the who doth hence remain refers back to the youth, meaning that he's not here. I'm here. He's not here.
Yeah. I feel like you're right. We would have gotten this if we could have figured out that last line and the whole meter thing. But I don't think that we got that meaning from our previous interpretation.
Yeah.
So that's a very important part. Just that one little section, him here.
So, okay. But anything else that we missed from the body of the sonnet?
No, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel really confident walking away from this one.
All right.
Cool.
Like I think we did really, really good at... we did an excellent job in figuring it out.
Okay. It just seemed weird because there was only 75% in that bucket, and I didn't feel good.
No,
and then Dave offered me a glass of warm, creamy milk.
Warm, delicious creamy milk.
Oh, okay. You mean like
milk?
When you said cream, I don't know. I pictured.
I don't know. Well, okay, well, this is what I was picturing. You remember this, and this is a wonderful scene. A wonderful scene in Django Unchained, where Christoph Waltz is knocking the foam off the top of the beer.
Okay.
With the little scraper.
Yes, with the little thing that was apparently just for that.
Yeah, that's a good tool.
I don't drink alcohol, but that looked just...
So maybe it's like...
you want to get one of those scrapers. Oh, I'm not talking about like just some sort of a nail file or a piece of wood.
God,
I want something that's specifically...
Now you've ruined it.
No, I want something specifically made for knocking that foam away.
Like, hey, have you ever been to Mike's house? Oh, yeah, he has like a keg of beer. Yeah. Did he pour you? Yeah. Did he cut the head off? Yeah, it was awesome. I can't believe he had one of those things. Yeah, well, I have some bad news for you, man. I just found out that's his nail file. What?
Repurposed.
He's just sitting there right before you came in.
All right, so is that all we're going to say about the sonnet? We can move on to the trivia questions?
Yeah, I'll probably never read it again for the rest of my life, for the rest of my 6 years on this planet.
All right. So we'll do a retrospective in 6 years on this poem and see maybe if Dave could join us. So we're gonna. So Dave is just going to look up a picture of the guy in Lady in the Water with one strong arm, and see if it's what he's picturing. We're gonna look up Anne Bonny and then Sir Philip Sidney's Sonnet 39. Maybe we'll talk about it when we come back, or maybe we'll just say nope, it's not worth it, and we'll tell you why. Was there anything else? Did you want to look up that language that says toin?
I'll give it a try. I'll see what I can find.
All right, maybe we'll do that. So we'll have those answers when we come back on Mike and Scott Read a Poem with special guest Dave Peterson. All right, so we're back on Mike and Scott Read a Poem this week with special guest Dave Peterson. We're going to answer these trivia questions. Shall we start with Dave? Did you look at a picture of the person from Lady in the Water?
Yes, I did. And it's funny, one of the first images that came up was somebody against a kind of bluey green background, but it wasn't the guy from Lady in the Water. It was a real guy who did that to his arm.
Huh.
But yeah, I did find the guy in Lady in the Water. He's wearing kind of a jean jacket with cut-off sleeves, yeah?
Not surprised. Okay.
And dog tags.
I can't tell you all the details.
Yeah, but anyway...
Was there any green mold, or what you were saying?
Well, there's a tree in the background there, but I'll tell you what. Of all the images that come up when you type in "Lady in the Water, guy with one big arm," his are by far the best. there are some disgusting images in this search. Like I strongly recommend you not look it up. Just appalling.
All right, well, that's another service that we've performed here on Mike and Scott Read a Poem. Just don't look that up. So we looked it up for you, and just to let you know, Dave did see it. Okay, so does it compare to what you thought it would look like?
Well, no, actually, and I'll tell you what. Some of these other images do. That one doesn't. That one, it looks much more realistic, much more Hollywood. It's much nicer to look at.
Okay.
So I think probably M. Night Shyamalan waded into, this vast array of this subculture of the one big arm and one not big arm, and said, you know what, I think I know what people want to see and what people don't want to see. And for once he was right. So my hat's off to him.
All right, Mike, you're up. Anne Bonny.
All right, so Anne Bonny, she was a pirate from Ireland in the early 1700s.
All right.
Apparently quite the looker with some beautiful red hair. She was born in Ireland. She moved to North America in the early 1700s and went on vacation to Jamaica or the Caribbean Islands. And that's where she met Calico Jack Rackham. So who's a famous pirate.
Yeah. Were you expecting a reaction out of us? Where you're like, oh, that guy?
Calico Jack!
Calico Jack?
Yeah, so she hooked up with Calico Jack in the Caribbean islands.
Well, you're having a tough time. Just pick one. It's fine.
Yeah, you just pick one and stick with it.
Both are right? Doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't.
All right, that's good to know.
Just pick one.
Say whatever you want.
Caribbean.
Oh, that's
I'm
the
picking
worst
it.
one. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, God.
Okay, I was going to do that whatever.
Oh, no!
That was already cocked and loaded. That was like my finger was squeezing the trigger. I was just waiting for you.
All right, so just to close her out then, so she hooked up with Calico Jack. They were lovers. She fought alongside the other men, so I guess she was known for being a good fighter. And eventually she got captured in prison and she was going to get executed. But because she had a larger belly, it was thought that she was pregnant, so they stayed the execution for a little while. And in that time, all record of her disappears. So there's a thought that maybe her wealthy father paid a ransom to get her out of prison.
And then she stayed out of trouble.
Yeah.
That's what I hope.
Maybe she's still alive.
Some say she's still alive.
And that she listens to every podcast while it's being recorded live. So don't worry, audience. She's not like sitting behind you in your car right now. She listens to podcasts while they're being recorded. So you are completely safe. That's not like icy cold fingers that you feel on your neck. You're being ridiculous. She's not there. Well, maybe you should just make sure she's not there. I can't guarantee that she's not there. All right. So, sir, this is the first time we've ever been terrifying on Mike and Scott Read a Poem.
We haven't even done our Halloween episode
Sir
yet.
Philip Sidney, Sir Philip Sidney was a poet early, 1554 to 1586. And he numbered his sonnets too, and sonnet 39 is a famous sonnet, so I read it, and I felt like, maybe I could understand this. It has something to do with sleep, and I thought I was following it, but then I looked up the interpretation, and this too is part of a series of sonnets where you're supposed to know these different characters that he created, so I just threw in the towel and said, I'm not going to look all that up. So if you want to know about sonnet 39, you're going to have to do it yourself. We're not going to do it here. So those are the answers.
No, you're missing one. The
Oh,
dialect.
the dialect. I'm sorry.
Right. So first of all, I was right there. So there's this dialect where instead of saying something like turn, you say toin, and it is centered around New Orleans, but also New York. It's probably gone or not as present as it was, but it's called the Yat dialect.
Yat.
And it's centered around Greater New Orleans, but if you go into it, it talks about a particular merger because English has a number of mergers. For example, like pin versus pen, P-I-N versus P-E-N. There are some people that don't distinguish the two, pronounce both of them the same. This one is a famous merger called the coil curl merger, and it's apparently just rose up independently in and around New Orleans and in New York. So both of these are kind of areas known for it. So this would be a dialect that says New York as opposed to New York. Or no, wait, actually no, maybe New York stays. But for example, a word like nurse would come out as noise or nice.
Yeah, nice. If you're a 1920s comedian.
Yeah. All right, and so yeah, it is a real dialect. It's a real thing. It happens in and around New York and New Orleans. So I was kind of like, I don't know, half right, 60, 70.
I think you even mentioned yet.
Ooh,
didn't you?
That'll be something to re-listen for.
Yeah, you might have said yut or yat, but either way, it's all this. It's just different dialects of the same word.
But again, if we're grading you on a pizza, you have a lot of delicious pizza to eat. Mm-hmm. And is there any other way to grade these days?
Oh God, I haven't eaten a solid thing today. It sounds wonderful.
All right, so so how are we grading the show today in terms of pizza?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a great pizza. It looks really good, and then there's just one piece that has like a huge dough bubble in it.
Okay, so we have to
the dough bubbles.
So we have to remove that pizza, and it's going to be apart from us, but it's okay because separated from us, we're still going to praise that slice and say what a great slice he was. I mean, he had such evenly spaced toppings and such well-balanced cheese and sauce.
And he was originally, part of the original pizza.
It's kind of what made us the best thing about us. But it's had to go off and be on its own now. And that's fine. Yeah. We're all going to be okay. We miss you, Slice, but we love you, Slice. A message to you from all of us here at Mike and Scott Read a Poem with special guest Dave Peterson.